So hot water extracts basically all of the components that are in tea. But with green tea, especially, things like the antioxidants that we might drink for health benefits actually taste pretty bitter. And so, if you're using water that's too hot, you're going to over extract those components. So, a lot of people tell me they don't like green tea because it's bitter. But if you make it with lower temperature water, it actually won't be bitter. So it really can change the taste quite a bit. So I always encourage people to kind of experiment and play around and try different temperatures so that they can see if there's a sweet spot where they think the tea tastes the best.
See, I cheat. I'm a cheater. I just am. I'm a cheater. I have an old coffee maker, and I pour the water in the top, and then I put my bags in the in the coffee carafe, and then the water comes in, and then makes my tea, and I like the temperature of it. So I cheat. But when I'm at the cabin, I put it in that quickie thingy, that quickie hot water thing, but I monitor it. I always catch it before it boils, like I'm looking through that little blue window, right? So I try to catch it before it really gets too boil and then pour it over. Because I don't want to hurt my tea. I love get
Yeah.
bitter. It's not that I don't want, but I don't want to hurt my tea. I want all the goodness from it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think of it almost kind of like if you're, if you're cooking veggies, you don't want to overcook them because especially if it's like spinach or other vegetables like that, they really don't taste very good if you overcook them, right? So same thing with green tea. You just want to make sure you're not overcooking it.
Yeah, I love my green tea. And I used to do a lot of loose leaf teas, and I love the smell of the loose leaf tea, and I would throw the processed tea or the boiled tea out in the garden and just let it kind of soak into the ground, and I love that. The chickens would always peck at it because they liked it too. But what's the what's the most popular tea in the world?
I would say the most popular is probably green tea. Outside of the US here, and especially in Asia, green tea is probably the most prevalent tea. There's definitely, so many different types of tea, but green tea is, I think, the most consumed. But black tea is also up there.
'Cause I think the Asian community drinks the green tea, and like the British drink the black tea, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of why, Britain and a lot of Western countries drink black tea more, is that it's more shelf stable. So, way back when they were first importing tea, it was very slow by boats. It would take months and months to get the tea from China to England. And so green tea, unfortunately, does have a shorter shelf life. And so it really just wasn't stable enough for that long shipping. So, but black tea was. And so that was partly why I think they were exposed to that first and was kind of like the taste they associated with tea, because they just didn't know what other options there were, at first.
I love all the history of it, not just the yumminess of it and the health benefits. I just love all the history of it. So, who grows
Absolutely.
the most tea? Where does the most tea come from?
Yeah, the most tea is definitely China. China is definitely one of the biggest producers. It's just firstly a very large country, and a lot of it, it's grown throughout the country. So there's just a lot of geography dedicated to tea there. I would say definitely India, Sri Lanka, and like Kenya are some of the largest ones after that.
Yeah. You know, it's labor intensive too, isn't it? Because you can't really use machines to go pick the leaves, can you?
Well, you can. So that part's interesting. In a lot of places, tea is hand-picked. Like in India, especially, that's kind of the standard there. But in Japan, they're very efficient in everything they do. And so they've developed a lot of ways to harvest the tea without necessarily needing labor to do it. So they have, when I went to Japan, we were able to visit some tea farms and harvest tea.
Hmm.
And one of the ways we did was it's kind of like a hedge trimmer with a bag attached to it. And so they just graze over the top of the hedges, because you really only want the top parts of the leaves. And then the bag collects those leaves so that you could process them afterwards. They even have these kind of like ride-on tractors that do the same thing where they go over the tea bushes. So they keep them kind of pruned and trimmed to a certain height, to make that as, efficient as possible. But there's definitely, a lot of places where tea is still harvested by hand as well.